Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Brynn Weaver, the home cook from Providence, Rhode Island, who finished in seventh place on MasterChef season 13, representing the Northeast in the United Taste of America. Brynn, this was tough to watch. A classic wall challenge sent you home. You and Kolby weren't in sync. What went wrong?
Kolby and I think, went wrong in the first couple minutes of planning. I do think we worked really well together in the challenge and cooking and communicating, but you have this really tiny window to plan your dish, to shop. And if you're off, there's they always talk about the pivot. The pivot is really hard when you're yelling over a wall, and it's really hard when you can't get back into the pantry. So, unfortunately, I think as hard as we worked and as well as we communicated, the concept of the dish didn't come together right at the beginning, and it was just too hard to come back from.
Do you think the biggest issue was Kolby's undercooked salmon, or do you think the overall conception of the dish in general? Like if his was cooked perfectly, do you think you would have been saved, or was there something else that was the issue?
I think that we both made a big mistake. I had a concept for a sauce that I was taking it too many steps away from the original, considering what I had available to me. And if his salmon had been cooked perfectly, that sauce might have been bad enough to send us both home anyway. So I feel like it was pretty even on, both of us having a little bit of fault in that and what mistakes were made. I feel like it was, pretty 50-50. If my sauce had been right and just his salmon, I don't know. So
you haven't been home harboring any ill will towards
Absolutely not. I think I was so lucky to be able to walk home with him, to walk out of that kitchen with someone I'd become great friends with. Everybody but one has to go home. So if that's the way I walked out with my friend Kolby, it made it a little bit easier to have somebody to commiserate with, to have a drink with back at the hotel.
Yeah, we do predictions at Gold Derby on who we think is going to win in advance. I had you in the final. I think I had Kolby in the top 3 or 4. So I was shocked when both of you were paired together. I'm like, oh, they'll be fine. But Wayne hit his target, I guess. I mean, Wayne got to pick the teams because he had the advantage. So I mean, I guess it was a good hit on him. You were the only 2 competitors that had never worked together before.
Right. Yeah, we'd never cooked together, and we have very different cooking styles. I think when we went to go conceptualize our dish together, I was thinking of things that I knew I was going to be really good at that would complement his Southern cooking and vice versa. But trying to mesh those 2 together was difficult. I think the other teams, like Wayne and Grant, Midwest boys, they're going to do steak and potatoes. Sav and Kennedy, Sav said right off the bat, Kennedy's taking the lead here. And then Reagan and Jennifer at this point had become such good friends, both from the South, very in tune with each other. I don't think they even had to, talk about it. They knew exactly what they were doing right off the bat.
Was this the most difficult challenge for you, or was there any others that were particularly stressful?
This wasn't the most difficult in terms of the execution. Like I said, the standard is really high at this point. Kolby's protein was off, my sauce was very off, so we each made a mistake. And I thought we actually did well in working together. But with the standard so high, those mistakes were, too much. The team challenges are definitely the most stressful by far. The field challenges, those were definitely, I'll never forget them as much as I wish I could.
Because you're also not necessarily creating your own dish in those. I mean, you're making like hundreds of burgers or whatever. And what was the most difficult part of that for you, working through those team challenges?
When you're, especially the first one at the trial by fire with the firefighters, this is our first time cooking together. Knowing how much to trust every other cook's instinct, being able to let go of things and let someone else handle them. And then the biggest one, like I said, the pivot. If you're trying to pivot in the middle of a team challenge, you have seconds to communicate a new plan to 8 to 10 people. It's incredibly difficult to make those calls on the fly and execute them properly.
When you think back to that original audition, what do you remember most about walking into the MasterChef kitchen for the very first time and getting that white apron?
Disbelief. Every step of the way, I was like, wow, I'm still here. I'm still here. I remember turning to my husband just before I actually stood up to cook and being like, I think I might get an apron. And he's like, are you surprised you're already here? Like, yeah, you're trying out for an apron. You might get an apron. I was like, whoa. You know, it's so surreal. It was fantastic. But every time I was like, is this my life? Is this me that this is happening to? It's crazy.
What's your personal, journey with food? You came in a bartender. What made you
Yeah.
sort of fall in love with cooking and want to go down this path and ultimately audition for the show?
So I'm a bartender. I've been a bartender for, my entire adult life. Been working in restaurants in some capacity since I was like 16 years old. So my first love is always the restaurant as a whole. Bartending is a part of that. The hospitality is a part of that. Cooking is a huge part of that. So I really started cooking more during lockdowns in 2020. I've been lucky to work at incredible restaurants where I get to eat the food cooked by incredible chefs. And that wasn't available to me at the time. So it was like this guessing game of what's in the pantry and what's in the fridge and what can I figure out. And I really enjoyed it. It was like getting to be like it was stimulating the way that creating cocktails behind the bar is, which I couldn't do during lockdown either. So it was a transferable skill. I'd been watching incredible chefs, so I picked up some things and was better at it than I expected. And again, it was my husband. He's a huge fan of the show. And he was like, you should try it out. You can do this. And that's what happened.
Did you have a dish that, if the challenge had been perfect, you're like, oh, I really want to make this, like something in your back pocket that you just were dying to make that maybe you didn't get the chance to show off on the show?
No, because I know that's probably a not fun answer, but I haven't been cooking for as long. I don't have these staples. I really like to experiment with new things. So for me, the most exciting were like the mystery boxes, lift this up, and that's what you have to work with, and let's go. That was part of what drew me to the competition. I knew it would push me farther and make me a better chef by giving me those challenges. And that's what I really enjoy about cooking, is that it's different every time. It's unexpected every time. What's in season changes, what the local market changes. And that's what I find really exciting about cooking. So getting anything fun, weird, different, having them, that I think my favorite was the MRE box. Like, what am I even going to do? That was a blast.
There was a lot of tears on the show when people would go home or just through from all the stress. Were you surprised at all the connections that you made? And was that one of the more surprising parts of the show for you?
I didn't know what to expect from the other people there. But they were all so incredible. Like, they're big personalities that are gonna, make good TV, but we were also all joined by this like one common passion and one experience. That is some serious trauma bonding, like come home at the end of every night absolutely defeated, but somehow I still want to sit in our little like lounge room that we've made with everybody and talk about it, or specifically not talk about it. Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't remember last time I got so close so quickly to a group of people, and it was a very special experience. It was unexpected. But I love it. I look around that group and I'm like, when else would I have gotten to meet you? And I'm so glad I did.
And what's next for you? How can people follow your food journey? Let people know how to follow you and what your plans are for the future.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Brynn Hannah _ at the end. I am still working at the same restaurant I was before. It's called the East End in Providence. I've been there for a couple of years now, but now I've taken on a management role, and that is what I really find the most exciting. I don't know that I would ever be able to just cook. I know that sounds funny, but I want to be making cocktails. I want to be talking to customers about wine and whiskey. I want to be in control of whether or not things were clean at the end of the night. Like, my passion is really for the restaurant as a whole, and my role right now is really everything I could dream of. I get to do a little bit of everything to bring this fantastic dining experience to Providence every night.
Well, Brynn, it was a pleasure to speak with you, and congratulations on making the top 10. And
Thank you
for sitting down to chat with Gold Derby today.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.